Guys, welcome back to another video, and in this video I'm going to talk about another book that has really inspired me, and that is The 4 Hour Workweek. Now, there are a few reasons why I think this book is so good, but I definitely have a very personal connection to it because it was the first first book that I sort of bought in terms of like this sort of spree of self-improvement books that I've read. I'd read, the 5 AM Club before that, but 4 Hour Workweek was it was the first one that I kind of bought with the intention that I was going to buy more self-improvement books, and so it started the journey. And I bought it along with Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco, which I still haven't finished, to be honest. My attitude towards books just generally is very much one of just invest in a lot of books and then just read where your curiosity takes you. And it just so happened that the 4 Hour Workweek was one that I really sort of took to really easily. And for whatever reason, the Millionaire Fastlane wasn't. But I don't see that as a problem necessarily, because I think I'm going to come back to the Millionaire Fastlane, when the time's right. But I guess they're quite an interesting sort of two to buy. I mean, Hamza really recommends those two as like the thing that really helps him. And just a general rule, like that's kind of the approach I've taken to self-improvement is like just what are the people whose life I want to live? What are they doing? What books are they reading? Let me just buy all of those books and read them. And that's literally what I've done. And in terms of making money, it was 4 Hour Workweek and Millionaire Fastlane. Those are the two books that Hamza recommended. And so I was like, who am I to question that? Let's just read them and find out for myself. And it's quite interesting because, obviously I don't know the Millionaire Fastlane so well, but one thing I'll say about both of them is they come from making money in a very different way. So the Millionaire Fastlane is that sort of classic, it's more so a typical approach to making money, which is just like, you got to escape the matrix, got to find your own way to wealth, otherwise you're going to be imprisoned forever, basically. Just dedicate your life really hard to making lots of wealth. Here's how you do it. That's the kind of approach. And the 4 Hour Workweek, which was actually written before the Millionaire Fastlane, I think, because the Millionaire Fastlane makes a bit of a dig at 4 Hour Workweek at some point. But the 4 Hour Workweek has a very different approach. And just to sum it up, the 4 Hour Workweek basically says, you need a bit of money to make, but what's more important, being some really rich guy who's like pinned down to his job or his business, really stressful life. He's, aging really fast because of all the stress he's under. He's living in a busy city, not really having much spare time to enjoy his life. The rent's expensive, he's not spending any time doing his passions. He's on like a 6-figure salary, he's making lots of money for himself. But, what's the point of all that money at the end of the day? And he says, is it that guy the best scenario, or is it the guy who's just found out a way to make not even that much money, like $2,000 a month from an online business? So about the same as like a average salary, but he makes it online, so he can live wherever the fuck he wants, and he can just have like a nice fun time exploring the world. Living in like nice countries, going to South America, going to Thailand, all these fun places, and as a nice sort of byproduct, the rent's a lot cheaper in a lot of these places where you want to go to, and because you're working online, you have the freedom to go to them. And he said, you can literally live like a millionaire if your business is online, because you can just go to like basically a slightly poorer country where the the sort of exchange, the currency they use is less valuable, so you get more, the American dollar stretches further. You can live a very sort of fun life there. Plus, you're exploring an amazing place, and you're just doing it all online. And that is such an inspiring image to me. And for me, I think, yeah, it's that guy. That guy's having the more exciting life. And he sums this up in a really interesting parable, and this is kind of the book as, if you summed up the book in one thing, it would be this. So he tells a parable of basically like a Mexican fisherman who's living in a little village, and one day this really stressed businessman from America, from the US, comes to this little Mexican village on holiday. And one day the American businessman's walking down the beach, and he sees this Mexican fisherman sort of throwing out his net into the sea, and anyway, they end up stopping and having a little chat, and the American businessman says, "Okay, so what's your life like?" And the Mexican said, "Yeah, it's pretty good, mate, to be honest. Basically, just get up really early, watch the sunrise, go out to sea, throw out my net, I catch, 2 or 3 fish, take them back to my wife and kids, and then we all have a delicious meal together, and then that's all basically I need to do, the work's done for the day, I go and sit down with my wife and, have a glass of wine, have a siesta, and then in the evenings, I don't know, play a bit of guitar, go down to the village, hang out with friends, and then back to bed, and yeah, that's basically it, man." And the billionaire says, the American guy says, "You know what, mate, that sounds like a great life, but what I'd do is, you can make a lot more money from your job. What I would do is, basically, you need to employ all the young people in the village and teach them how to fish, and then when you do that, you can get them all to like fish for you, and then they can go to the market and sell the fish, and then you get a cut of the money that they sell because you've trained them, and then you can eventually scale up this business, and then you can start buying big ships to go out and fish in this part of the sea, and then what you'll have to do is move to California so you can set up a business." And he talks about this massive business plan about how to scale the fisherman's little business, and he said, "Yeah, you'll basically be earning all this money from doing this business." And the Mexican fisherman's very impressed. And he says, "Wow, what am I going to do when I make all this money from fishing?" And the American guy says, "Well, I don't know, man, I guess you could retire to a little village somewhere near the sea, and then just go and hang out with your wife and kids." And the moral of the story is that, you're building all this wealth, but do you see the irony? Like, it's like building all this wealth, but you might as well just do it so you can do the things that you didn't have time to do because you're building so much wealth, but that you could do without the wealth in the first place. And just on a side note, I do see this so much in my own life, like people just deferring stuff into a time where they've like made their money. When my company's like, when I've got my own company, then I'll do this, then I'll do, and all the while you're just sacrificing everything to get in there. And, it's difficult because I wouldn't claim that the Mexican fisherman is in a great financial situation. What if one of his kids gets sick? What if, he has to move? What if there's a flood in the village and he has to move? He hasn't got much social mobility, without any money. So, of course, it's an analogy, there's lots of flaws in the story, obviously it's to tell a story, it's not an actual thing. There are benefits to having money that aren't explained in the parable. But I think the fundamental thing is that a lot of the motivation that people get from making money is not necessarily for things like security or, if your kid gets sick or so you can, you have social mobility if a problem happens in your family. It's a lot of like the motivation for people to get rich seems to be like, you just want to have like a fun life, and to do that you need lots of money. And it just, if that's the case, then you're like, low key, you're a fucking idiot, because you don't need to be super wealthy. You don't to live like just a fun lifestyle. And Tim Ferriss talks about in the book of like people who like, because he was quite a big, he's quite a big entrepreneur, like obviously very wealthy himself. And he would talk to people who were who were bankers and stuff like that, and they were like, they had a certain salary that they wanted to hit before they were gonna sort of say, oh, I've achieved my purpose as a banker, Tim Ferriss would be like to them, okay, so what are you gonna do when you get this pay rise and you have all this money? And the banker would just say something like, well, I guess I've always wanted to go for a motorcycle ride around China. And Tim Ferriss was like, mate, you can do that today. Like, it's not that expensive to go. What you got to do, book a flight to China, rent a motorcycle, that's it. And yeah, I mean, it gets quite sort of spiritual and philosophical, because I mean, another book that I want to talk about is The Power of Now, and like how basically there's this kind of, I guess, a spiritual idea that all of human happiness exists in the present moment, and we think that like getting this, getting that's what's going to give us happiness. But if you strip away all this kind of ego and whatnot, you strip away, at the center of human experience is just a feeling of having enough, and it exists in right now. You can always feel just happy if you just strip away all the layers of existence and just be in the present moment. Everyone's heard this, right? But I think this is kind of it's sort of an entrepreneurial take on it, that you don't need to have all this money or this success to do it, to live the life you want. The better way is just to engineer your life to just live it now. And that would be, it's just incredibly easy to do. When you really think about it, most people's dreams, like, you don't need to be earning 6 figures. You don't need to be a millionaire to just go on holiday somewhere, or whatever it is. You can just do that now if you set your life up in the right way. But what you could be cautious of instead is that you're gonna, the more risky thing that you're gonna run into is you're going to you're going to just enslave yourself to, whether it's a business or a career, you're going to enslave yourself to something. You're going to work incredibly hard for some big picture. But then at the end of the day, you're just going to look back on your life and think, oh, I could have done that anyway. So, at the end of the day, this is an entrepreneurial book. It's all about how to achieve your dreams through entrepreneurship. But, so I'm kind of sounding like I'm knocking entrepreneurship. I'm absolutely not. But I think the way that we sort of think about making money and achieving our dreams in the West is, sorry guys, just got this back brace on, really good investment, by the way. The way we think about it for so many people today is just silly. And I wasn't really going to talk about this because this is a bit sort of I don't know, I didn't want to let on too much, but I was having a debate with these guys I work with, and some of them were talking about setting up a business, and basically the company I work for is basically they want to grow more sales agencies. So most of the people who work there, they want to basically make their own sales company, and the way to do it is through this sort of organization where they'll give you the resources to like build a team, build a sales team, and they'll give you some money so you can invest in it, all this stuff. But it's obviously a very tough and bloody road to reaching ownership. And I was just having a conversation with them, and yeah, there was so much of this kind of language of, oh, when I'm an owner, then I'll do this, and then I'll have the free time to go to the gym, or I'll just be able to relax and chill out, and all this kind of silly stuff. And all the guys that I work for are incredibly hardworking. Like, I've got a lot of time for them. They're really like big inspiration to me. But like the sort of the debate I was having with them is like, are you sure you want to defer so much of your life into the future? You know, because just practically speaking, you'll become an owner, and then what? Then it's like, you know, are you really going to have all that free time to do other stuff? You know, what if your team does badly one week, you know, and you have to jump into the fields to show them how it's done again? You know, what if it's all very well, ideal scenario, everything's doing well, like business works for itself. But I just feel like, mate, if all you want to do is just chill out a bit, have a bit of free time to be able to, you know, go out clubbing and partying and, you know, show off, to, you know, like impress some girls, you know, whatever, you know, absolutely like fine, absolutely admirable goals, no problem with it. Just you know, get on YouTube, grow a following, and like sell a course, you know, and then you'll make like $1,000, $2,000, whatever, doing that, and it takes you like half the time, and you can have it right now. But there's such a kind of tendency in people just to constantly defer to the future. So anyway, that's my take on the 4 Hour Workweek, guys. Very good book, really recommend reading it. It has a lot more practical stuff as well, but I think the main philosophy is the thing that really inspired me from it. And yeah, just this idea that life doesn't have to just be about just destroying yourself to get the life you want. And that the more important thing is to set your life up in the right way so that you live your life in the way you want to as soon as possible. Because I think this is the danger that people do, is you just spend your whole life working super, super hard. And then when you finally got that promotion or that, you know, that business is taken off or whatever, and you got loads of money, it's like, are you really just going to chill out then? You know, when you've got so used to working like loads of hours? You know, most likely not. Your brain's going to be used to working, and it's always just going to want to do more and more and more. So it kind of sounds weird, but you need to almost practice relaxation, practice living the life you want as soon as possible. You know, and I was thinking this about my sleep routine. It's like, how much do I want to sacrifice my sleep routine in order to live the life that I want? And I thought to myself, well, I could just flat out just sacrifice my sleep routine, you know, work really long hours at this sales job, get myself to ownership, run my own sales company, and then, you know, the business will kind of run itself. I can just have whatever sleep schedule I like. But then I thought, am I really going to get onto like a brilliant sleep schedule where I'm up super early, going to bed super early, having spent like a year, 2 years of my life not doing that? And I just don't see it. I don't see it. I think like there's that parable of in the Gospels of the guy, like everyone knows this, right? The guy who builds his house on the sand and the guy who builds his house on the stone. And the guy who builds his house on the stone is like, you know, it takes a lot longer, but than the guy who builds his house on the sand. But then the waves come in and the guy's house on the sand falls into the sea, and the guy who's got it on the rock, he's fine. He's chilling because it's got a nice foundation. And I think so much of life is like that, in that you don't want to make too much lifestyle compromises for the future. And I think sleep is one of these things. You know, I think sleep is just a foundational thing for me. You know, I want that to be a part of my lifestyle. And if that is going to be part of my lifestyle, I have to make sure it's part of my lifestyle now. You know, not in the future when I have more time, but now. Same with exercise. Same with going to the gym. You know, I shouldn't defer that into when I've got more time on my hands to go to the gym. You know, because no one ever has more time on their hands, really. If I want to go to the gym, I need to find time to make it now. You know, and I just think you need these kind of foundational things in your life that you're not going to compromise on. And obviously, to some extent, you know, you're gonna be like, oh, sometimes I need to spend a bit more time doing this. You know, maybe you get like a busy week, and you know, I'm just gonna really double down on business for this month. But understandable, there are going to be compromises, and there is, obviously you do need to make sacrifices somewhere along the line. But what I would say is just be very careful about it. Be very careful about it because it's very easy to just get into that mindset of, oh, it's just for today. It's just for today. I'm doing this work. I'll reap the benefits later. Obviously, I'm all for gratification, but like delayed gratification. But I just think it's so easy to fall into that trap and just never reward yourself. And I just think people like Tim Ferriss, people like Hamza, they just show you so easy to make money online very quickly now. And if you're in denial about it, like if you're not doing it, you're trying to defer into the future some way to make money, then you're lying to yourself and you're falling into this trap of just deferring into the future. So anyway guys, that's my take on the book. Thanks very much for watching.